All right, so let's continue on figuring out this do melee accuracy function. The next thing coming up is something that I'm pretty sure I know what this is. So we're putting a 1 into D0, the byte, low byte of D0. We're putting in a 20 into D1, putting in a 0 into A0, and then we're calling this function. And what do you think? I mean, we're doing a D20 roll. What do you think this is? I think this is roll a dice, right? This is a random function. So, yeah, roll a dice, and this is telling us to go from 1 to 20, basically. So these are the function parameters. So let's go to this bad boy. Yeah, okay, so, again, ranged RNG, which is RNG in a range. D1. D1, there you go. Beautiful. And I don't know what A0 is, but we can add it in because I'm pretty sure that that is. So we moved along. So I guess this one would be a pointer maybe? Unknown 1. Assign to register A0. Okay. So we've got 3 parameters to call this ranged RNG function. It returns a byte, which should be the value between, you know, whatever and whatever, 1 and 20 in our case here. And we can see this is being called by like a whole buttload of places, which you would expect for the function that does RNG in a game. It's probably going to be called in a bunch of different places. It's going to save off some registers. Notice it doesn't save off, well, it doesn't save off D1 and D0 because those are parameters in, but also, well, no, D2, D3, D4, okay. So those are probably the ones that it uses internally, and it's doing a bunch of stuff, like it subtracts 1, yeah, it moves D1 into D2, then it subtracts 1 from that, so it's getting into a 0-based deal. Yeah, it makes sure that the top bits are all cleared. We only get the low byte. And then there's the end, which is not adjusted, by the way. So now we're going from 0 to 20. I don't know. But this calls another function. And I'm not really sure what this function does, but it's also called by a bunch of places. Not as many as the last one, but still quite a few. And then this function calls here, and I looked at this before, and this is definitely some kind of XOR shift random engine, right? You've got 3 bytes that are stored in memory, and those are going to be read and manipulated and written back, and then 1 byte is being returned from here. So let's define this one because it seems pretty easy. I'm not sure about those 2 in the middle, 2 or 1 in the middle. But this one seems pretty clear. We can define more or less what's going on here. So I'm calling this one XOR Shift 24 RNE 256. Weird name, but it looks like it has 24 bits of state space, and it returns a value, you know, between 0 and 255. So yeah, there you have it. That's what I'm calling it. It doesn't seem to take in any parameters, which makes sense for an RNG generate function. Now these ones are the state space. So let's go 19, 18, 17. We're just gonna name these places in memory, name them and shame them. Not so much shame, just naming. And there you go. So we have, you know, locked this function down. It's pretty straightforward. I'm not gonna do a cryptographic analysis of it. I'm sure it's fine. Unless I see like just very sus values coming out all the time, then I might take a look to see if their random number generator is broken or something. But yeah, so this function calls the XOR shift. We're just going to rename this one RNG middle. Yeah, so ranged RNG calls this one, which is doing some kind of adjustment, but this one's also called by other places in code. So maybe if you don't want a ranged RNG or something, I don't know. I'd have to analyze it, and I don't think I will, because I think just analyzing the, this one is going to be good enough. just to make sure it does what I suspect it does. I don't really care what's happening in the middle right now, but I might look into it later if it seems to become pertinent. And then this one calls the actual algorithm to do the XOR shift. So what I want to do here is, well, let's go back. Here we go. So let's make a comment here. Do random dice roll d20. So we got a little bit of a sauce on there. Now I want to just experiment with this and see if it always does what I think it does. So let's get into the game. So we got our watch point, and we're going to do BP set 142F0. So we'll set a breakpoint here for the melee combat. And let's run. All right, so now if I do an attack or someone attacks me, I should be able to break. Here we go, we broken. And this is jump to the random boy. So D0 should contain the result, I believe. It seems like D0 is the same role as AX in x86. Generally has the return value of a function. So we want to step over. I don't want to step into all that stuff. And we see that it contains a 7. This indicates the bear rolled a 7. Now, let's, I'd like to repeat this a number of times just to make sure that everything is good. So let's see if our registers all have, so D1 has 1F, D0, okay, yeah, so we have to reset the registers if we want to call this again. So we should jump to the address, we should jump to this address. We just copy that there, Control C. Now, can I do that directly in here in the PC? I don't think I can set PC from here, so, all right, my ass looking for a command that's like set register or something like that. Nah, it's just do. It do be like that. And then debugger expression syntax. So there's probably like a whole thing. But all I want to do is the one in the example is do PC equal to. Do PC equals this. Booyah. And then we can just step over again, which is F10. And see what goes into D0. So F10, yeah, from 1 to 20. Let's get my pointer out of the way. And set that in there for whatever reason. And then we, booyah. And this time we rolled 17. Okay, still within the range of 1 to 20. Let's go back and do it again. Another one. And this time we rolled a 16. Okay. Still hasn't broken my assumptions. Let's do another one. Roll a 2. Nice low roll. Okay, so I think this is good enough evidence for me that what that function is doing is what I expect. The parameters work the way I would expect them to. I have no idea what a 0 does, and I don't care at this point. It's just being set to 0. So for all I know, it's some kind of special, I don't know, like loading the dice or something. I have no idea. Doing a seed or something. I have no idea. It doesn't matter. We know that this is going to do a ranged RNG from 1 to 20 in this case, and that is enough for us. We will explore deeper as necessary. So I gave that bear a nice roll of 2. Continue playing. His ass should miss. 100%. And he missed. Oh, but he gets another attack. This guy is a little bit of a bastard. He gets another attack. Whatever, that's fine. We won't worry about it right now. Instead, what we're going to worry about is what are these things? Because we know that this is the strength bonus, which is, bogus, but sort of in holding with the D&D rules. So we want to know, what is this? What is this? So this is the value that you rolled, just the exact value that you rolled, and we're going to add to that. I wonder why sometimes it adds the register and sometimes it doesn't. Like here, you're doing lookup into a struct. This is register A3, but it doesn't have the A3 in here, which is fine because we know that A3 is active. It just did that for us. But here, it's active level, but it adds the A3 at the end. So I don't know, maybe that's because the class is actually just the base address. And here you're doing an offset, so I don't know. But anyways, we go down here and there's some unknown attribute in the character sheet, and that is being added to the dice roll. So whatever attribute this one is, it seems to be a pretty good one because it makes you hit more often. And we also add something else to here from A2. Now, I believe A2 is holding a pointer that is somehow related to the action that you're doing. But I still don't have a real strong idea about how that is exactly related. And it also increments that pointer to point to something else after you do that, which is baffling to me. But this pointer, if we've been following it in previous videos, they don't do offsets like they do with A3. They just keep moving it around, which is, I don't know. It just seems like a dirtier way of doing things to me. So after adjusting the roll like this, we're now going to do something completely different. We are going to compare a constant with some location in memory. Just some random ass variable in RAM, which has nothing to do with this roll, probably. If the comparison passes, or if it's less than BPL, I don't even know what the fuck BPL is, but if some condition is true, we're going to branch to this label, which skips the strength stuff. So we look at some kind of variable in memory, and if we hit it, we skip the strength stuff. I have a wee bit of an idea about what this could be. Because there are some pieces of equipment that have an effect on your strength, and that's actually one of the main things that I want to look into. So maybe this is checking to see if you have that piece of equipment, but you can't tell if the piece of equipment is on a specific character just by looking at a fixed global point in memory. So I don't know what is in here. So we're just going to call this strength check global var, strength melee hit check global var, because this one controls whether or not you do this code here, whether you skip it. So we're adding the bonus to our roll. Now we branch if greater than or equal. So I don't know what the condition of this BGE is, what flags it's controlled by, and under what situation this addition would cause you to skip this versus setting D0 to 0. Because setting this to 0 means that you definitely fail. So why would adding this bonus somehow cause you to fail? I guess because the strength bonus can subtract. If it subtracts you below 0, it'll just going to set you to 0. Because otherwise, it's going to mess up some calculations. That's what I'm guessing would happen here. So dragging out the instruction reference, we see BLS is branch then lower, BLS, branch on lower than or same, which is a unsigned comparison. That's fine. But BPL is branch on plus, which is neither an unsigned or a signed comparison. It's just a weird condition. Basically branch if the n bit is not set. So what I want to do is, I just want to run through this once with a player character active doing a melee attack. And, I want to verify that this THACO table lookup is working the way I assume it is working. And I want to check out what happens during these roll bonuses, just get an idea of what's going on there. I want to experiment with this skip here that seems to be referencing some global variable and working within a range. I want to see what that's all about. And I want to check the actual strength bonus calculation, make sure it's working, and also, verify my assumption about the strength bonus debuff just going under 0 and that fix up here. So let's do that. Let's just step through. We got to get an attack going. All right. Hopefully we don't just completely die. Well, you're dead. Okay, one down. Someone's getting attacked. You're getting attacked. You're dead. Yeah, I kind of went out of my way here for this one. Not the area that you're supposed to be in. But anyways, I'll just put you on hold for a second. I want to use my fighter character for this. So actually, what we're going to do is we're going to set a breakpoint at the very beginning of the routine there. All right, let's continue. We'll just skip your turn. No, that's not what we want to do at all. We just want to skip. Okay, so let's attack whatever that is, probably a wolf. Yeah, it seems like that's the wolf. Okay, we'll attack the wolf. We should break on our do melee accuracy. 270, that's where we are at. Perfect. Okay, so let's start our stepping. Let's get our stepping shoes on. Make sure I got the right hotkeys. F11 is step into, which I guess is what I want. I don't know. Step. We don't really have to verify any of this. It loads the value into D0, which is a 0000001. I think we've actually seen it do that before. So I don't know whenever it loads that C0008, but it's not today. It is not today. And then we move the active characters class into there, which is 02. And it does align with our notes, so that's always nice. Let's see here. So we're step F11. That's fine. Okay, what's next here? This move here, which is going to set up our D20 or THACO or whatever you want to call it. Then we subtract the AC of the target. So that's gone down a little bit, but not a ton. It's still at 14. And then we are going to move the level of the character. We mask the level. We mask the class. And we're checking to see if the class is a 0. It is not. Okay, now we subtract 1 from the class. And we're checking to see if it's like cleric type sheet. It is not. So we subtract 1 again. And that one does, that one does match. So we are going to jump. We're going to load the address 37B, which should be table 2. And we're going to subtract that lookup from D2, which should bring it down by 1. Yeah, so now it's down to D, which is incorrect, by the way, but whatever. And then we branch to 142E6. So that will take us, so this is hit table 2. We branch here. 142E6, yes. Okay, so now we are going to do our roll. Yeah, good. Move that in there. And we roll. Oh, I stepped into it, didn't I? I should step out. Debug, step out. And D0 has become, so we rolled a 16. It's a pretty good roll. Okay, so after we're on 2F6. So let's look at the memory and let's see if it can access registers like this. It can. And the byte that we're looking at here is 0. So it does not get any bonus from this. The next thing we're looking at is A2. and there is no bonus associated with that either. So when we step, we should see D0 is the same. Okay. All right, so now here's the interesting thing. There's some variable here. A4CF, which is going to be FF, A4CF. So that address contains a 50. That's interesting here. It also contains the text of the last thing that was printed in the dialog box. This is RAM, by the way. This isn't in the ROM. But yeah, there is a 50 hex in there. And so I think the first comparison is we are checking to see if the thing in memory is less than 45. So this should not jump. Do the comparison, and we didn't jump. Okay. So the other comparison here is basically what we're doing is we're subtracting 6, 8, and if the result is quote-unquote negative, then we should branch. So is it less than 6, 8? Which it is, I'm sure. We do this one, and it should not branch. And it doesn't branch. Okay, so that's good. So whatever this thing is, it's got to be within 4, 5, and 6, 8. If it's outside of that range, it is going to skip that strength bonus. So I'm interested now. All right, so now we're loading the strength from your boy. Yeah, that's 18 strength. Now we're loading the address of the lookup table, and then we add to D0 based on that. And it should add 3 to our roll. So that should be, now D0 should become 1, 3 hex. It is 1, 3, but that doesn't jive with the rules, but it does jive with the way the code is written. And now branch of greater than or equal to. So this should branch. So it should branch to the move L. Yeah, it skips the part where it zeroes out the D0. Now let's change the scenario a little bit. We're gonna do PC equals. So where do I want to be? I would like to go back, so where it loads the strength, and I want to load a strength of 1. And I also want to set the roll to like roll the 1 on a D20. Let's go back to 1430E. 1430E. And so we load the strength. Now let's do D1 is equal to, and we'll just put like a super low strength. We'll just put a 1 in there. So that should be like a significant debuff, basically. Good. And then also do D0, which is our dice roll, is equal to 1. All right, so now when we do the lookup, load the address of the table, we're going to look up and subtract from D0, and yeah, it becomes FE, because it actually went down into the negative, but you can't have a negative dice roll. So now we branch, and we see, yeah, we were negative, so we hit this one, that sets it back to 0. So that's what that is doing. All right, so this is good. All right, I'm pretty confident now about all this code up until this point. I mean, I understand basically how this works. I don't know what it's trying to do or what the memory locations that it's referencing, what they mean. So hopefully I can learn that later on, but it's probably not that important for what I want to do first anyways, the first thing I want to fix. But what I could do at some point for these here is they're all, related to some memory location. But what you could do, well, for these two here, you're just adding from some memory location. So we could set a breakpoint, but with an extra condition that the breakpoint only actually is active if the value loaded was... That's tricky though, because I don't know if you can do one like that. But yeah, like when you set a breakpoint, you can add a condition, then it'll only trip when it satisfies these conditions here. And similarly for memory watch points, you can also add conditions in there, depending on what data is in there. So yeah, we could do things to kind of puzzle out what these memory locations actually mean, but I don't think it's important for right now. So we will leave it for some other day, maybe.